Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Common Sense Crypto channel. As with you always, this is Rich doing another video today on XRP. So I hope you're all having a wonderful day today, wherever you are in this great world. We're gonna talk about XRP. And I gotta start with this from Digital Asset Investor. Crypto is about to leave the wild west. Take a listen to this.
The only regulatory taste in crypto is for the four, CFTC regulated assets, which is Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and XRP, which are on the CFTC. But otherwise, crypto is a complete wild west and has been since the beginning. So these exchanges can do whatever they want. So I think we've got the first turning, which is the market structure bill. Loomis's market structure bill, probably going to be voted in, she said, before Christmas, starts in September probably. And when they start doing that, they're going to start to put the same regulatory rules on TradFi onto the crypto markets.
And by the way, you can look at tokens that have been around for nearly 9 years, like XRP, and their inflation has been through the roof for nearly 10 years. And it continues with 50 billion tokens in escrow. They dump it every quarter like crazy. So it is an important factor to look at. But if you can get staking rewards that are higher than inflation, you shouldn't be concerned. And you're right, is to incentivize the validators on the net.
You ever take notice? They always got to bring up the escrow. But what they don't realize and what they don't talk about is the fact that Ripple utilizes that escrow strategically. And most people in this space would also argue that most of that escrow is already spoken for, that the United States is going to get some of that escrow, the BIS, the IMF, and so on. But Ripple is also looking to become a bank. Now, if Ripple does become a bank, think about it. That escrow could be locked away like a massive liquidity pool. So as everybody's onboarding to the XRP ledger, they could be transacting through that liquidity pool. The liquidity pool would provide on-demand liquidity. And Black Swan Capitalist talks about most of crypto disappearing. Take a listen to this.
It was roughly around 10 to 15 projects that would ultimately survive. And you're talking about the infrastructure, and that's the distributed ledger technology. That's the investment. That's where their vested interest is. It's not so much the speculative nature and all the leverage out there. And it's not about the noise. It's about the technologies that provide the infrastructure value.
I have a saying, sorry about that, but I have a saying where when we have these technologies coming, it's really just study history. It's actually quite interesting. And I know when I say the 1840s, I always look to people's eyes and say, oh my gosh, you talk. But the steam engine, it was a crazy thing. I mean, we could all of a sudden travel across the world with the locomotive, and you could start having manufactured processes with machines and so on. It's crazy thing. Electricity coming out 1920s and so on, and every time you have these big tech things coming, technology advances coming out, you will see that there is a fog of things because people don't really understand it, and I don't get it. I don't see which one of these that are going to. I can guess that it'll be like, as I said, 5, 10, 15 of these that will come out and really shine, and they'll probably be fantastic projects, and 10 years down the road we'll all say, why didn't we see it was that one, because we should have, and then we could have been billionaires, all of us. Well, but that is the thing. I think there is a fog around this when tech comes out, and it's actually because a lot of people just see, there's interest in this, there's money in this to be made, and then all the shitty things comes in, and that creates that fog around the new technology that actually makes it very, very difficult for us to understand what it's all about. But cut to the core. What is it that will change it? It's down to the technologies down beneath the cryptos. It's not going to be because of WIF or Bitcoin or whatever it's called, and it's not going to be anything with crypto, and it's not going to be DeFi. It's not going, I can promise you that the U.S. will not allow, the U.S. administration will not allow that you have Bitcoin or any other thing will come in and take over the role of the U.S.
Exactly.
dollar. And they will not. And when you say that people they will not be able to, I can promise you they will be able to. They'll just say, if you hold it at some point and you use it, you'll go to jail. and then people tend to stop. So they can, and that's why it's the technology, and I don't know which technology, and you probably know more than I do that in terms of what will be happening, but the technology and the fog around the technology creates this confusion, which creates bubbles, and that's where people first lose money. But the real money is to be made from those who can figure out which of these are actually going to make a lot of money down the road.
It was roughly around 10 to 15.
And that is why you invest into XRP, because you invest in the future. You're invested in the technology that's going to move the world's money. You don't invest into something that it runs on a belief system, because that's what Bitcoin runs on. It's the belief that it's going to continue to go higher in price until it doesn't go higher in price anymore. Then all of a sudden the belief system falls apart and your money goes with it. But when you're investing in technology, and take notice how he said the steam engine and electricity, it's because we're in an industrial revolution. The fourth industrial revolution is happening right now, and you're already invested in it when you're invested into XRP. XRP is going to emerge with a handful of other cryptocurrencies out of this industrial revolution as the biggest winners of them all. Bitcoin's already on the path to irrelevance. It's not going to be relevant in any way in the near future, not with the rise of a new financial system, not with new technology leaving it in the past. And that's what's going on right now. And, when it comes down to FUD on XRP, even Swift is scared of XRP. So top Swift exec takes aim at XRP, says surviving the lawsuit isn't resilience. And this is coming from their chief innovation officer. He said it's not resilience. Neutral, shared governance is. Institutions don't want to live on a competitor's rails. And compliance isn't about one company convincing regulators it should be allowed to operate. It's about an entire industry agreeing on shared standards that no single balance sheet controls. Here's the problem with Swift. They could argue and say whatever they want. At the end of the day, they are scared to death of Ripple and XRP. That's why they're now running trials utilizing Ripple, which I think they were most likely running those trials for years. We're just hearing about it now with the announcements. But they all see what's coming, and that's why they continued to FUD on it. And I'm not even going to play this clip. This guy is totally twisted. It's the guy who calls himself Johnny Litecoin. He says he never once seen an XRP transaction done in the real world. Where are the blockchain analytics? My conclusion is that XRP is a psychological operation meant to distract you. He also says that anything that doesn't require energy like mining, it's worthless. How do you come up with these ideas? Think about it. You have to get up in the morning and say to yourself, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to make a video and I'm going to convince people that proof of work is the future. In a time where carbon credits are going to be needed to offset energy usage, it makes no sense. It's a loser out of the gate. That's what Litecoin is. And then there's this, and these people think we are total trash as XRP holders. You got to hear this one.
And that's why I thought it was important to put together this series of frequently asked questions for Bitcoiners that they can use in the future when deciding which type of bankrupt shitcoiner to hire to clean their toilets. A number of questions here. Why not use XRP, ADA, Cardano, or Hex holders to clean your toilet in the future? Reason number one, cleaning toilets properly is a skill set that probably exceeds the meager cognitive abilities of almost all holders of XRP, Cardano, Hex, and other cryptos. These people may also understand little to nothing about personal hygiene. That's another problem. So they may find the concept of cleaning an external object like a toilet, when they can't even clean themselves, cleaning an external object like a toilet, they may find this concept extremely confusing and frustrated. Remember, these are people who literally believe that the world is going to move to a hex standard. Reason number two, if you use an XRP hold.
I can't even play any more of that. So these people, they're so prideful. You ever take notice to that? You know, they only see Bitcoin. They only ever made money in Bitcoin. They think every other cryptocurrency is still a security because their beloved Michael Saylor told them that everything else other than Bitcoin is a security. And they deep down believe that. And you can't change their mind about it. But what's about to happen is this. Something's coming for the number one spot. XRP has a very good chance of flipping Bitcoin in this cycle. People will deny it all. They could deny it all day long. But the market cap multiplier says something else. And everybody's now predicting a $50 plus XRP. Once XRP becomes the number one cryptocurrency, it's game over for these Bitcoin maxis. I cannot wait until that happens. To think that we are nothing more than toilet cleaners, but then again, we're not even real people to them. They think we're all bots and nobody actually holds XRP. They are in for a very rude awakening. Now, I'm going to play the beginning of this Tom Lee clip. He's talking about Ethereum going to $62,000. But I want you to see one part of this.
Well, here's Ethereum's price since 2018. And as you can see, there's two periods I'm shading here. These are called bases. And in Wyckoff's methodologies, they say the bigger the base, the bigger the breakout. And what they mean by that is that you're creating a lot of potential energy as a stock or a network asset bases, and then eventually leads to a breakout. Well, let's look at that breakout. In 2020, that breakout took place, and Ethereum went from $90 to $48.66, or 54 times increase. Well, the low point here in this base was $13.85. So with this breakout, we're expecting an upside move. Is it potentially 54x? I'm not sure, but that's what happened last time.
So think about what happened back in 2017, 2018 for XRP. You can't base it on 2021 because the SEC held XRP down in 2021. XRP was off all the major exchanges, and the Rippleverse SEC case was still brand new. So if we were to base XRP off the 2017-2018 run, which it looks like it's following right now, what were people saying back then? XRP maybe goes from a fraction of a penny to a quarter. Instead, it ran all the way up over $3. So if that was to happen again, what are people predicting this time around? $20 to $50. But what if XRP pulls a 2018, a blow off top, and ends up hitting somewhere around $200 or $300? That could very well happen. Now, nobody would doubt Tom Lee. They would say, well, Tom Lee's usually spot on, so I think he's most likely we're going to see a $62,000 Ethereum. I personally don't see that happening. But the one thing he pointed out was the base. And the base on XRP is even better than it is for Ethereum. And that's why I think we're going to see a massive blow off top for XRP. And is it going to reach those higher price points people are thinking of? Like, I see some people now calling between $500 and $1,000. It would be great to see that happen, but let's first get past $50. Then we'll start talking about 3 digits. And this is the end game. So you see, CZ, he's the top billionaire in crypto. But look at where Chris Larson is, number 6. Now, XRP, if it does hit these higher price points, like everyone's predicting, there's a good chance Chris Larson will be the richest man in the world. And that could very well happen during this cycle. Let's see how that plays out as well. And this was a great clip coming from Paul Barron. He's talking about Ripple equaling Fed 2.0. Take a listen to this.
Bitcoin and several other assets have started to slide. But that really could change it, is the ETF. Do you think the is it more important to have the ETF or the banking license? If you could only have one, what would it be? I think both are going to happen, but which one?
Wow. That's incredible. Now you did that to me, Paul. You made me choke.
What's most important?
Well, listen, what I'll say is most important, I believe, is that banking charter and that reserve master account, because I do believe that Ripple is going to serve as the Fed 2.0 in the new digital on-chain economy. And I do believe that, the launch of almost 20 ETFs, we could see that happen in October if they do it. And I do believe we could see 5 to 8 billion inflows in a month or just a few months. And then we have to remember, too, that the market cap myth doesn't work on these assets because these assets have utility. And that's why they're not the same. And then that multiplier effect is just simply for the audience, how much money at any given time it takes to push through the buy and sell walls to move the price up.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. So, I think that's a huge impact on this market all the way around.
So he even thinks that the banking license is more important than the ETFs. And I would agree, because that positions Ripple into an even stronger place, which also takes us with it. Because if Ripple emerges as a bank, we're the branches. And I think that will lead to more wealth over time. And here's when XRP is expected to hit $500 and $2,400. So they're saying $2,400 by 2040. XRP is going to surpass all these price points way before 2040 and 2050. Most XRP holders, they're going to be retired within the next 2 to 3 years. Anybody holding 1,000 XRP will most likely be retired within the next 24 months. It could happen even sooner, depending on how fast mass institutional adoption happens, leading us into full-blown mass adoption. If you go off of David Schwartz's timeline, it's going to happen by 2027, which means mass adoption will already be taking place during that same time frame, because institutional adoption and mass adoption, they're going to be happening at the same time, because the institutions, they're not going to waste any time getting crypto integrated at the merchant level. Lowe's will be accepting crypto. Home Depot, Walmart, all of them will be accepting crypto. So now that they accept crypto, crypto is legitimate to all the normies out there that aren't holding crypto right now. They're watching person after person pay with crypto. And most likely there will be incentives to pay with crypto also, which will onboard even more people. Well, if I pay with US dollars, I'm just getting 1-to-1 for the US dollar. But if I pay in a stable coin, I'm not only getting yield of 4%, but maybe you're getting cash back on your purchases of another 2%. And if you're using a cryptocurrency, like let's say XRP, maybe there's even better incentives for doing that. It's going to be a different time over the next 24 months. And most people are telling you that already. David Schwartz is saying it. Brad Garlinghouse is saying it. The president's calling for the golden age to begin at the end of 2025. It's going to be a crazy time ahead. And as investors, we are going to get that financial freedom. It's going to happen. All you got to do is continue to hold these cryptocurrencies, these utility-driven cryptocurrencies. That's all it comes down to. You just don't get shaken out. All you got to do is stay patient and positive long enough, and we will get rich together. With that said, I'm going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.